New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And Rev Alley here.
And Reverend Alley is our special guest today here on New Thought Today. This happens every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We're so grateful that you are with us. As we get kicked off here, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe, or any combination thereof. Let your friends know what we're doing here today. Let your friends know about the conversation we're having here today, because we are very pleased to have I'm going to say a relatively new friend, because Reverend Alley and I have known of each other for a while now, but we haven't really known each other, and we've been getting to know each other over the past several months, and I'm really excited we've finally been able to get you on the program here. So, Reverend Alley, fill everybody in. Tell everybody a little bit about where you're from and how you end up here on New Thought Today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to rekindle our friendship and be part of this show today and meet Rev Z and to see what's happening here. I am a New Thought minister, science mind based. We have a center here in northern Utah in Ogden, and we started this ministry in 2009. And it's been going for a while. And I've been a part of CSL and Anton for many years, since I was in my 20s. And so I've been a practitioner of science of mind, and I love these principles and the practices that we share. And I'm just on fire and alive with staying on that growing edge of my spiritual evolution. And that's why I say yes to interviews like this. Right. I like to be with thought leaders that are current and relevant and talking about new thoughts. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad you could be here. And yes, folks, if you caught that, she did say Utah. So there's more than one center in Utah. There's actually 3 now. And Utah's always been a piece of my heart as I came up in this philosophy at the Salt Lake Center. And you kind of came into Utah and the Ogden area right as I was leaving Utah and heading for Colorado. So we never really had a chance to play and connect and collaborate or co-create anything, but now here a bit later we are getting that chance. I'm really excited about it. So tell us, before we go too much farther, tell us a little bit about the Satya Center as well. So you've started as a traditional, let's say, brick and mortar pulpit style community, but that's shifted a little bit. So tell us a little bit about the early history of your community.
Yeah, well, I moved to Utah in 2003, and I came from Big Bear Lake, California, where I was very involved in the Bear Valley Center for Spiritual Enrichment. And that church was a United Church of Religious Science, and then we hired a minister, and then we became affiliated with Anton, the affiliated New Thought Network. And so I was serving that church, that community, as a practitioner. And when we moved to Ogden, there was no church. There was, as you said, there was a Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living, but that was a little bit far for me to travel. And so I started a discussion group, Science of Mind discussion group. and started attending the affiliated New Thought Network annual retreat. And those two things, the discussion group, book study, and the Anson retreat sort of got me going and flowing into the idea that maybe it was my time to start a ministry. And so I became a minister, and I started the Satya Center for Conscious Living. And Satya is a Sanskrit word that loosely transcribes or translates as higher truth. And yeah, we got going, we started to grow, and we got all kinds of people coming that were not finding spiritual food in their traditions. We had a lot of people that were spiritually hungry, that didn't fit into some of their boxes that they used to fit into in this culture here. And so we grew. We probably peaked at around 100 people on a Sunday. So we were a pretty vibrant, small church, and had a great music program and a lot of service opportunities for folk. And we did a lot of collaboration within our local community. We would do a lot of solstice and equinox, by the way, happy equinox, events. And so we would bring a lot of people into our center, because we would offer these sort of more earth-based ways to tap into spirituality and ritual and ceremony. And so we really got a diverse group of people. We offered a lot of courses and classes, people that were into A Course in Miracles and Reiki and such would find a home with us and be able to offer those things. And then, of course, I taught the basic principles of science of mind. We had a practitioner training program. And so all of that was vibrant and going for many years. And then COVID. And when we closed our doors 3 years ago, we moved online. And I was also working in Big Bear Lake at the Center for Spiritual Living down there. And so I would teach classes and in both locations, but mostly online. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the Satya Center.
Wow, that seems like a model, if you will, of how spiritual teaching should be. In that, the one thing you said about the solstice or the equinox, I guess it's a spring equinox, right? In that part of the ancient tradition was to honor nature, not as something to worship, but as a sign of the divine. And somehow that got kind of misconstrued when people came in and started interpreting things that they had no idea what was going on. And they started labeling it different things. But when we think about spirituality, at least when I think about spirituality, I think about the energy or the spirit or the life of this planet, and how we honor that, and how we are that, and how we set up a way so that it's available and accessible to everybody, regardless of what level they may be coming in at. And I think it sounds like something that you had in your center before you went live. And so tell us a little bit about how you create that same kind of environment now that you're online.
Well, moving online has been, well, actually, when we were getting to know each other before we went live, we were talking about the fact that I'm a bit of an introvert. And so going online for me was just fine. I enjoy being in a room by myself. And I've been able to incorporate some of the things that I love to do. You can see this painting behind me. I'm an artist. And so I connect with people online through pretty much my social media platforms with my art. and with messages, inspirational memes, shorts, reels, little videos, that so I can share new thought principles, universal principles and teachings and practices, utilizing social media, utilizing my art. And so that's been a way for me to stay in tune with people, to share what what I love to share. And there you are. You're seeing probably my Instagram feed
Instagram,
there.
yep.
Yeah. And I have several Instagram handles or pages, accounts. One is the Satya Center, as you can see. And then I have my private one, or my personal one. It's not private, which is I think Ali J. Banjamin. And so what I love to do is I like to be a living example of living these principles. And so what I love to do is take photographs. I travel a lot. I'm outdoors a lot. I take photos of so many different things. And I'm always astonished whenever I travel to a church or a center or a retreat or a conference. People always come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I love you. I love your life, and I love what you share on social media. And you're really taking us on a joyride through watching your adventures." And so I think, you talked about the equinox and how we've sort of got away from the natural side of spirituality and the natural cycles of life, which the equinox and the solstices are all about celebrating the cycles. And I feel like when we can get back, strip back from the conditioning, from the structures, from the man-made stuff, and that's not to say all of that isn't great and fun and beautiful, but when we can get back to nature and sort of start to discover who we are as a natural being, we start to tap into that innate wisdom, that God-given wisdom that all of us are and occupy and have access to. And it's a really sweet and simple way of connecting with the divine, is by simply, forgetting all the stuff we've been taught and just tuning into the natural wisdom within us.
Yeah, there's this thing I like to contemplate, is that there's a if we allow ourselves to be still enough or aware enough or observant enough to notice the synchronicity between all things, that's when we can step into that cosmic dance of where we have that interplay and things happen more naturally, and disasters don't seem to be so disastrous, and but now, because things are out of whack, we were talking about, you mentioned that you were in the Big Valley area of California there. I mean, and you're doing this onslaught of weather on the West Coast. I mean, they've gotten something like 80, I just checked it, something like 82 plus inches of snow, and they had to have the Corps engineers come and dig people out who were stuck in their houses in certain areas over there, because I think the synchronicity we've gotten out of touch with nature, and we would see in our ancient traditions that there would be there were certain signs and certain energies that they could tap into, whether it was through the stars or the tides or whatever, or the animals that indicated certain things were changing. And as you said, I think we've lost that. And so one of the things that I love about what you're saying is that when we can get back to some of the more simplistic things, some of the more beautiful things, whether it's art or nature or just silence, we can find that. And having a center like yours to be a conduit for that, I think, is great.
Beautiful.
And I'd love to talk about your art a little bit more too. We didn't set this up ahead of time, folks, so kind of putting Reverend Ali on the spot. But I had forgotten about this piece of it. Is I've only seen so much of your art over this time, the last year or so, but I do recognize there's a lot of angels inherent within your art. and you've got your angel there on the altar behind you in your background, and tell us a little bit about that. How when did you find the angels in your life, and how does that influence your creativity, your art?
Hmm. Well, when I was studying to become a practitioner back in the late 90s, I think my final project was to create something that supported the community. And so what I decided to do was to create a circle, a women's circle.
Hmm.
And it was a spiritual, it started off as my evolution took place, the evolution of the circle grew, but it started off as a spiritual support group. I later changed it to be a spiritual growth group, but within that group, actually it was called Stepping Stones to Conscious Living, and I developed this beautiful format for a spiritual growth group, and had that going for about 3 years in Big Bear Lake. And then when I moved to Utah in 2003, I began another group just like the one in Big Bear, but this was for women only, and it was titled the Goddess Circle. And I used the word goddess not as a um, focused on any sort of mythological goddess, but just the goddess within each woman, that divine diva, that creative being. And so with this goddess circle forming, I started attracting all kinds of women, and we would meet once a week and have a beautiful sharing, healing prayer circle. I started drawing and painting that image. It's this image, really, as you can see my necklace here. And it just started as a doodle, and then it sort of just came alive, and I couldn't stop drawing and painting them. And they began just to be sort of a muse for me, and a way of bringing women together. And I would do farmers markets um, and art shows and things like that, and sell my art and my greeting cards and write poetry that would go along with these goddess images. And then a couple years ago, they formed wings. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before. I guess I just hadn't got to that place, but they grew wings. And so I sort of started a new series of my goddesses, and I titled it And She Was Free. And so I started using my art with the images of the, as you call them, angels with wings. Some people call them fairies, goddesses, whatever. They're just a symbol of inner strength, power, creativity, passion, sensuality. And this art isn't that. I don't really have anything near me at the moment that I can really show you, but maybe that's for another time. But yeah, so I use my art as a way of expressing my inner landscape, and all of my art is very spiritually inspired. And I've sold thousands, probably more, I don't know, of greeting cards and my images, and share them across my platforms for women primarily, to really learn to love themselves, cherish themselves, put themselves first, and as a way of saying, yeah, I'm with you. I stand with you, and I have your back. So a lot of my ministry is outside of the Satya Center, is really directed towards women's empowerment. I do a lot of, well, not so much currently, but have in the past, a lot of workshops that are based on women. So yeah, I'd say that's what my angels are all about.
Yeah, that's I think that's so apropos in terms of the angels and the feminine piece of life, is that it's quite obvious that the whole planet has way too much patriarchal masculinity uh, in force right now, and I think the universe is pushing us, edging us, kicking us, however you want to look at it, wherever you think that energy is going, to a point to where we have to get back in a balanced state. And because we are so far to one side or the other, pick a side, it doesn't really matter which one you think it is, but we have to, it's the normal pendulum swing. And so now that pendulum is swinging back, so that all of the divine feminine is taking center stage now. And so, uh there's a saying that goes, there will always be highs and lows, but I want my highs to be high lows. I want to be focusing in here. I don't want to be vacillating in here. We know there's going to be vacillation. That's why we have the cycles, and that's why we're honoring the equinox right now. But it's a matter of getting that, so that there is that cosmic synchronistic dance where sometimes one side leads, the other side leads, sometimes they're in step together. And when we can do that at all levels of life, now we're doing something. And so I think art, and I love the piece behind you, is just that. It opens the avenue for that.
Thank you. Well, the Dalai Lama was reported to say the women of the West will heal the world. And I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but I know how I translate that. And I feel that exactly like he said, the pendulum has swung and the patriarchy's been alive and thriving. And yeah, maybe I'm just doing my small part here in the northern part of Utah to bring the goddess or the divine feminine to the forefront.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear you, Robert.
My dogs were barking in the background a minute ago. I think it's really important that what you're doing, because it's not just a little piece, it's a piece.
Yeah.
And every one of us brings a unique aspect, a unique piece to the puzzle, if you will, a unique way of being part of the collaborative, creative, co-creative process that we're all about. And art for me is exactly, it's that avenue through which to release that which I don't know yet. And so I'm still a little interested. When the creative urge hits, there's nothing else that can get in the way. But do you work, and having seen some of your paintings, do you try to bring forward a specific image? Is there your creative process? Does it involve, okay, yeah, the mood is hit, but I really want to add this to in these colors, or in it, or is it just completely oh my gosh, here's what happened, and some of them never see the light of day, and some of them end up on a postcard, on a greeting card?
Well, a little bit of both. I think I was awakened at a very young age. I had my first conscious spiritual experience at 5 years old. And so I've been tuned in to the subtle energies of the universe. I've been questioning my whole life. I've been trying to bring this mystery feeling, this depth of the universe, and the mystery of it all through somehow. Like I've been on the path. I'm a voracious reader, studier, meditator, workshop attendee, presenter. And so I'm very tuned in, and I'm always listening to that inner voice. So when I have the idea to paint, I just wander over to that part of my home, and I just let that sort of passion and excitement, that childlike excitement and curiosity, to take over. And I spend a lot of time and money and energy on acquiring and accumulating materials. So I have every color under the rainbow. And so I can do something like this, which is done with acrylic paint. And I'll choose colors that I'm just inspired to put together. And then these pieces are created through manipulation of the product, the paint. And so there's not a lot of, there's no paintbrush involved in this art.
Right.
Now I have other art that there is. I do watercolor, which is my paint of choice. And with that, I am way more calculated. I will typically in my meditations or outside in nature, I may have been for a walk or gone somewhere, and I'll capture an image, like a mental image of something. And then that image will be alive inside me. Let's say I went to Zion Park in southern Utah, and I'll be so filled with the beauty of that space. And then I don't give it much thought. But then when I'm back at home within my studio, I have all my materials, then I will start to let those ideas come forward. And I'm not a realist. All my art is very, it's my interior landscape. And so what I paint may not be recognizable as, red rocks or canyons or clouds, but there's an energy to my art that you'll tune into and pick up. My art provokes, like you said, it's almost like an opening. I find art to be, for the artist, I believe that we're channeling and that we're bringing the invisible into form through our paintings. And I also think that paintings can be used, not just my paintings, any painting can be used as a portal. Let's say like a point of contemplation. You can use art as a meditation. And through that, being connected to a piece of art in a meditative state, you can enter different dimensions of your consciousness. You can enter into the subconscious. I do a lot of work with folk that helps them tap into their subconscious and do a lot of healing and revealing through purge painting, I call it. And so, yeah, I could talk forever about painting. It's just one of the ways I get to God and allow my spirit to feel at home in this body. It's a way of me expressing myself outside of my, conditioning. It's a way of me, giving myself some freedom.
Right on. I just had this flash of I think we might need to do a virtual art show sometime and let you set up a whole bunch of different things and we could walk through and share and ogle and oodle and ogle all over your art. So thank you. It's a great explanation, and it's the creative process.
Yeah. And I thought about something even on the other side, in that now they have these paint parties or whatever, friends get together. It'd be interesting to get a space set up to do some meditation, and boom, people can do it online or whatever and figure out what comes through. And because I dabble in photography, and one of the things with photography, I happened to get a few shots that I was just out walking, and it was a moment in time. Had I been there a minute earlier or a minute late, I would not have gotten the shot that I got. And so it was a moment in time that reflected the grandeur and the beauty and the allness of the divine that can't be recaptured. Right? It can be felt once you capture it. And so you can put yourself in it, which is like what I'm hearing. It's a little, when you're painting, it's kind of a reverse osmosis. You take in that moment and you stamp it in your brain, and then you let it come back out. So this whole, again, for me, what we're talking about is this whole cosmic dance, this synchronicity between all aspects of life, and how do we help ourselves and others tap into that, so that that dance can be a little, not like a junior high schooler, but maybe a high schooler at the prom.
Well, folks, if you wonder what you've stumbled in here today, it's not a junior prom. This is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. Myself, my co-host, Reverend Elzia Sekou. We're here with Reverend Ali Banjamin today of the Satya Center in Ogden, Utah. But we're going to take a quick break and let everybody grab a drink of water. Stay with us, however. We'll be back real soon with more here on New Thought Today, part of the New Thought Media Network. Stay tuned.
Let's do something fun. Let's go on vacation. Let's take some time off just to do something fun with none of the usual to-do list that we have to deal with from day to day. And let's do it right now. And it'll only take a few seconds. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Take a break. Give yourself the gift of a moment. Allow yourself to stop doing and simply be. Because you are a bright light of love, and for you, being is more than enough.
I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. And you ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound. Lay it all down, down, down. Lay it all down. Unbound. Open your mind and unfold your heart. Yeah.
And we're back with more on the New Thought Media Network. This is New Thought Today. And I want to say before we go any further, folks, if you are not doing anything on Friday night, you need to be at this Gary Lynn Floyd concert. And if you are doing something Friday night, well, just cancel it now. If you're in the Denver area, it's going to be good food, good people, and a house load of great music. If you're not in the Denver area and want to join us online, please just tune into New Thought Media Network during the day on Friday, and all the links and all the show opportunities will be there. But we would love to have you come join us for a special in-home hybrid live stream concert live from Arvada here on New Thought Media Network. All right, we're back with more of New Thought Today. Reverend Ali Banjamin is our guest today from the Satya Center in Ogden, Utah. We've been having a great conversation about art and her community and her journey. And one of the things that is our primary focus, on this program really is the philosophy of New Thought is an evolutionary philosophy in it. So it never stops growing. It never stops evolving. You've been involved for quite a while now, Reverend Ali. From your perspective, where's New Thought headed? Where's the future of this philosophy, and how can New Thought serve humanity's evolution, if you will?
Mm-hmm. Well, Ernest Holmes talked about the merging of spirituality and science. And I really believe that as we start to wake up more and more, as science kind of backs us up on our spiritual notions and concepts, and we explore energy and information and all of that, that it's really New Thought it's hard to put it into a box. It's so out there in everything. You go on YouTube, you go out in the world, you go to the bookshops, you're going to see books that have New Thought principles, that an ancient wisdom. It's all being expressed mainstream. And so it's sort of just the consciousness of being awake and being empowered and honoring each other. And it's just all around, I guess, when you have the eyes to see it and the ears to hear it anyway. But that's my thought. It's no longer a secret. It's not just going on in New Thought churches. It's mainstream. And I think us that have been in the part of the New Thought movement for years now, we get to live it and take it out into the world, into our businesses and into our work, and we're making a difference. We're those drops in the ocean that are creating a beautiful, more sacred and mindful. I mean, look at mindfulness-based stress reduction and how that has become so prevalent within. My husband has worked in the hospice industry, and he takes meditation to the families of those that are making their transition. There's more awareness about being human and our potential, and how we get to be more engaged with what's already in here. Earlier we were talking about nature and cycles, and each one of us have this innate wisdom and intelligence. And as we start to tap into that and bring that out, we're making such a heartprint and imprint in humanity. And I think we can do that in our centers, but more importantly, we take it out into all of the things that we do, into the hobbies we do, into the clubs that we're a part of, into our workspaces. And so it's subtle. It's a consciousness thing. And I think if you did a snapshot of, a bookshop, let's say 30 years ago, and a bookshop inventory today, you're going to see so many self-help books, self-improvement, self-empowerment, mindfulness books. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, right? A lot more people writing about, and a lot more people living this philosophy, that I think, than ever before.
Yeah, and for some of our regular guests, I mean, some of our regular participants in our program are going to hear me say this. They've already heard me say it 1,000 times. I'll say it again. I think about the book, The Celestine Prophecy, that came out in like early to mid 90s, right? And the first thing it spoke about was synchronicities, right? And when we go back to the early beginnings of New Thought teachings, or even metaphysical teachings, there was this whole idea of natural religion, right? And how there was this wisdom within nature that allows us, and allowed us still, to go into these sacred places. And I found something that I wanted to share in terms of the synchronicity, because I think you when you said that about the painting, it was spawned by the idea came to mind that this is something we have to get back to. In that it says synchronicities are incidents of spiritual significance that ask us to momentarily damper our self-observation and consider the possibility of the divine. Synchronistic experience leave us with a curious sense that we should pay attention. And if we don't have that overtly and covertly right now, then I don't know when it is. And so we have to start paying attention. And I think that's where part of the future is for New Thought and conscious living, is that we have to begin to pay attention and look at those synchronistic moments, as it says here, as a moment to forget ourselves for that moment and look at the divine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's signs and all over the place. You know, when you're paying attention, you can see those synchronicities. Yes. I think of Dr. Deepak Chopra. He sort of coined the term synchrodestiny, and there's this sense of that we as co-creators can harness our creative potential, activate our unlimited potential, and sort of be tuned in intuitively to the signs and signals and the world around us, and sort of work in this very dynamic way with the world and with life. And we've got this innate inner wisdom, this guidance system that is, once you're through meditation, sacred study, whatever it is, painting, you know, being outdoors, once we start to cultivate this, there's a conversation that takes place between you and you, right? Between you and the universe. And you talk about the dance. And at the moment, I'm in this deep study of dance itself. And I'm actually going to be presenting a workshop at the Anton retreat at Unity Village in October. And it's going to be a dancing prayer, where we take the 5 stages or 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment and dance them. And so we can actually have an embodied experience of being in this live conversation with God in a prayer that we're dancing. And so there's so many ways to become a conscious co-creator. And it's all about your frequency and vibration. And so, you know, being able to embody your purpose. I created a meme today, just posted it on Instagram. And, you know, your purpose is to be alive. Like, our purpose is to be here, to be alive and to evolve. And so we, as metaphysicians, as science students of science of mind, we know that we have the responsibility to be creative. And so with a lot of my students, what I do is help them find a soul purpose statement. And we typically do this once a year because it's so potent and so powerful. But once you have a clear idea of what you want to experience in and as your life, you know, that becomes your sort of mantra. And then you're communicating with that intention, with your attention, and you're becoming this conscious co-creator. And there's so many ways to consciously co-create and get into that frequency of possibility, potentiality, whether it's through dance, through prayer, through taking a walk or whatever. There's so many ways to bring new thought, which is really ancient wisdom, right? Into, you know, they say awakening isn't about learning anything, it's about unlearning. And so we're, you know, sort of breaking the shackles of the programming and learning to trust ourselves as we develop this sacred communion that happens only when we slow down. And you know, if the pandemic has given me anything, I think that's been the greatest gift. It's been of slowing down, of beginning to trust myself, trust my natural wisdom, and then be able to share that with the world. And you were talking about art classes, and I actually have taught many, I call them art and soul play shops, art and soul play shops, where I will lead people through a meditative process and then have them, do whatever our topic is for that day. And so, yeah, people are starting to, at least the ones that I'm working with and seeing, they're starting to see their spirituality doesn't have to come in a church, or it doesn't have to come within a belief system. Ernest Holmes says science of mind is a faith, philosophy, and a way of life. And so we get to bring it into life through all the varying different ways that we feel inspired. Each one of us are going to do it differently. And so it's, for me, my ministry, my New Thought ministry is about helping people tune in to their true self, to start to get in tune with what their passions are, how they see themselves in the future, expressing themselves in terms of those passions, and then bringing that to the world. It seems so basic and so obvious that that's what we're here for. But we've been so confused with societies telling us all these other things. But it's so much simpler than we've been led to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the piece about society even New Thought. Now we do this as individuals, right, folks? And a lot of workshops and a lot of time in processing to get beyond what society tells us we're supposed to be. But even our churches and even our centers have in many ways fallen into that, trying to be what society says is normal, rather than listening to the natural flow, the natural rhythm, rather than listening, as it were, to the divine. And I love how you share that, Allie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's and what better day to have this conversation than today, when the seasons or the energy is changing on the planet, and we will begin to see that change, that which it appears to be a slow change, right? But right now we know that for plants, that the roots are starting to wake up. They're going deeper now, looking for more water. The barks or the stalks of plants are beginning to expand, to create greater avenues for this energy of life to flow through it. And if we could just take these simple lessons from what some people refer to as this inanimate or not so conscious stuff, we would learn a lot. And I think, for me, I know one of the takeaways that I will take is I will definitely go look more at the synchronicity of nature and how my life and my teachings and my examples could be more in tune, and then just take notice of is there more or less friction going on? Am I doing things a little more smoother, or are they rougher, or whatever, to understand that's, as you said, that subtle energy level, what's happening, because the subtle energies are always present. And
Well, and as we're sharing here, I'm reminded that the universe has a great capacity to self-correct. So in some ways, yes, as earthlings, we throw things out of whack. We throw things out of balance. And the universe has a great ability to self-correct. So let's talk about all this rain and all this snow and all this that's going on in California and pretty much everywhere west, the Rockies and west, everything's getting hammered with snow and more than we've seen in a long time. But all these regions have also been in a multi-decade drought. And I saw pictures today of the Oroville Dam, and they were releasing water over the spillway. Now, this may not seem like a big deal. Water gets released over dam spillways all the time. However, you might remember just a couple, 2-3 years back, there was a major natural human disaster, as we talked about earlier. And there was a disaster that ripped that spillway apart. And that reservoir was at dangerously low levels following that. there's been so much talk in the past few months around Lake Mead and Lake Powell and all the major reservoirs on the west. But I think we got more than enough snow in the mountains to start filling those back up. And we're already seeing that. There are now pictures coming out of Lake Mead that the water level is higher than it was a month ago. So the universe self-corrects, and we're part of that. And that to me is the promise and the beauty of New Thought, is even if I have done something to mess up my life, if I use these principles, if I rely on this philosophy, everything will self-correct, and we'll come back to a place where we can be open to the natural rhythms and the calling to preserve, to be a part of nature. So many times it seems like we have totally lost track that planet Earth is more important than we are to the continuation of human life, and to the continuation of human evolution. Just some of my thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think of, all this water rising. Water supposedly is a symbol of emotions. And so think about all of the, within us, if we're looking for the synchronicities, if we're looking for the signs that nature has for us, we might want to ponder, what emotions are rising within me? Do I take time to listen to my emotions, feel my feelings? I think this is a good, little nudge from the universe to listen more and to pay attention to our emotions. Science of mind, we're so mind focused. That's why I started doing the dancing, is sort of embodying these principles. And so as we can think about water, emotions, it's a way of deepening into our studies, deepening into these principles.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you would like to experience Reverend Allie in this workshop, you can do that. I'm not sure if registration's open. It might be, but if you head over to ntmedia.org and hit on the events tab, or the attend tab, you can find more information on the ANTN conference in October and how you can attend, and who from New Thought Media Network is going to be attending. I'll be there. Rev Z, I think we're taking you with us this year, whether you like it or not. And we'll get to dance with Rev Allie at that conference. So please check that out. The affiliated New Thought Network, they're doing great work in the world, and they've got great people like you supporting their efforts and presenting at their conferences. So I'm going to look forward to dancing together.
Awesome. Me too.
No question about it. Folks, we're going to take another real quick break and say hello to our sponsors and give the folks that make all of this happen financially a little bit of love. So please stay with us. Share a thank you with our sponsors and donors, and we'll be right back with more with Reverend Allie, Rev Z, and myself on New Thought Today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors and donors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, and all of our individual donors and sponsors. Thank you for being a part of the New Thought Media Network. Please come be you. And we're back with our final segment of New Thought Today here for March 21st, 2023, the spring equinox. We're so grateful that Reverend Allie, you've been able to share some time with us today. So thank you for that. Before we do our final thoughts, I just want to check in. Is there anything that we missed? Anything we didn't talk about that you were hoping we would get a chance to talk about today?
It's all perfect. It's all been flowing perfectly. That's the vibe I'm picking up.
Right on. Perfect. All right. Well, with that, then we are going to move to final thoughts. And Rev Z, looks like you're up first today.
Yeah, well, I want to just take on that symbolism of water. Water, in addition to emotions, is also a symbol of spirit, and so spirit is rising, and so because spirit is rising, there's a greater opportunity for us to link in and tap in and tune in and turn on to those moments where spirit is knocking on our window saying, come on, let's go play, let's figure this out. And I think that's my final thoughts, is that now we're in a time where being attentive, staying in the point of awareness is paramount in everything we do. So stay awake and stay aware.
Beautiful. Reverend Allie.
What's coming to mind for me and filling my heart at the moment is something that Dr. Ernest Holmes was known for saying, which is, there's only one life. This life is God's life. This life is perfect. This life is my life, your life, our life now. And that's what I'm floating and swimming and rising in, is just this oneness that we're all a part of. And thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us. And the thing that's coming up for me today, and I keep hearing the old Grateful Dead song in the back of my head. That's right. The women are smarter. And we know, and we have known for a while now, that the rise of feminine leadership, of feminine mystics, of the feminine as a whole is rising up on the planet, not to take over, but to course correct, if you will, some of the abuses and some of the mistreatment that's happened to the planet, and to not just individual, but to the collective psyche of humanity. And women as healers, women as leaders, women as the visionary mystics leading us forward. I feel like I've had a chance to meet one and converse with one today. And so thank you for being with us. The future is in good hands, folks. New Thought is here, and it is no longer a secret, and we are taking it to the streets. So thanks for being with us. If you'd like to share more here on the New Thought Media Network, if you have an idea for someone we should bring on to the show, or you have an idea of something we should be doing here on the network, please, by all means, get in touch with us. You can send in an email to ministertalk@ntmedia.org. That's ministertalk@ntmedia.org. We'd love to bring your suggestions and add those to our playlist, as it were. So again, Reverend Allie, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been a great pleasure. Yes.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Lovely to meet you, Reverend Z.
Yes, same here. Can't wait till we meet in Unity Village.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, folks, until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.